All right, so safe and proper use of the table saw. So what we did so far, we learned about the machines, the chop saws and radio arm saw, cut material to a specific length. Okay, we cut material to a specific length. We use the joiner, the surface, and edge to get ready to rip on the table saw. When I say we're going to rip on the table saw, what that means is we're cutting along the grains, and this surfaced edge is going to go against the fence. So now we'll have surface edges on both sides for our materials, for our projects. So let's get to talk about this table saw. I'm going to skip number 1. You don't need my permission. You receive my instructions, see a demonstration. Number 2, remove jewelry, eliminate loose clothing, and fine long hair. Well, I took my fleece off. If you ever see me and I go like this to you, that means roll your sleeves up. Hoodie strings, maybe just tuck them in, okay? Not so detrimental to this machine like it is the joiner, but still, we got proper practice safety habits. 3, make sure all guards are in place and operating correctly. So here's the guard. Simple as that. It's an overhead hood guard. Vacuum. It's attached to the dust collector. Okay? Pulls out as much dust as it can. The guard will always be in place. You guys will always cut with the assistance of the guard. Okay? It's my job as a shop teacher to make sure all guards are operating and in place. So here you go. It's very quite simple. All right? There's a guard. It will be down for you. Number 4, always use proper eye protection. Again, safety glasses. 5, with all adjustments, remove dust or chips with the power off. So let's talk about adjustments. I need to set my fence to rip. I lift the lever. On the far side of the fence is going to be a red line. It's going to be a red line. That is when you set your dimension to. So in the case of this, I'm going to rip material. I'm going to go to 6 inches wide for our cabinets. Okay? Once I have this red line, again, the red line will be closest to the surface planer. This red line over here, I'm at 6 inches, push and lock it down. Okay? Push and lock it down. Now, from 0 to 12 inches, the ruler goes down to 30 seconds of an inch. So if you could be trying to rip something to, say 7 5/8, double check your dimension. Make sure you're actually at the 5/8 and not the 16th. Because again, this goes down to the 32nd of an inch. Okay, you gotta double check that. Other adjustments. We can raise and lower our blade on the table saw. The blade height wheel is at the front of the table saw. There's a knob in front that I usually try to keep locked, so when you have to raise or lower the blade on the table saw, you just loosen that knob, and then clockwise raises the blade height. This machine can also cut anywhere from a 0 to 45-degree angle. Here's your tilt scale in the front of the saw. This is your blade height wheel, and over on the side is going to be the blade tilt wheel. So you see now, the blade will tilt, and let's just say, hey, I'm at a 15-degree angle. You ever have to cut at an angle? Then you lock this in place. Make sure it doesn't move while you're cutting. All right? And of course, your blade height, make sure it's at a proper height. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay? So that's how you adjust the blade. That's how you adjust the blade. So, tilt wheel, counterclockwise takes you back to 0. And again, just lightly just snug the knob and your blade height. Questions on your adjustments? Okay. While I'm down here, let's talk about turning the machine on. There's 2 on-off switches. Okay. The one with the yellow cap will actually works the whole motherboard for the machine, for the mechanism, the stop mechanism. We'll talk about that in a little bit. This paddle stop is to actually turn the saw on. So again, the yellow cap actually turns the whole machine on. And the paddle switch, you pull it towards you, turns the machine on, push it in, shuts it off. But none of this will work if the main saw on-off switch is off. Okay, this has got to be on, otherwise this is not going to work. If you're ever going to use this and you pull this on but it's not working and you turn the main motherboard switch on, it's not going to work. Okay, what you have to do is push the paddle switch in and then you'll be able to. Question is on the on-off switch. Okay, all right. So those are the adjustments you can make in this machine. And there we go. And remove dust or chips with the power off. There are several ways we can remove our scraps. Okay. What we can do is we can use the push stick to remove scraps. You can reach from behind the saw blade to remove your scraps. Or you can simply turn the machine off and wait. Do not ever stick your fingers in here like this to remove your scrap. Don't ever do that. Questions on that? Don't ever put your fingers anywhere near a moving blade. So again, you have three means of removing small scrap. Push stick. If the scrap is long enough, come behind the saw, or shut the machine off. Okay. Number 6, never use the miter gauge and fence together in the same operation. So what that means is, here we go, here's the miter gauge. The miter gauge is used for cross cutting. And depending on what we're cutting, yeah, we may have to use the miter gauge to cross cut. So this is the miter gauge used for cross cutting. And the rule says never use them both together in the same cutting operation. Well, that means that my board is touching both the miter gauge and the fence. Now I'm going to have a serious issue. Okay, what's going to happen is, this is the outside of the blade. This now becomes my offcut, my scrap, and this is going to pinch, bind, and kick. The rotation of the blade is towards you, the operator. It's towards you, so it's going to come back at you. All right, so never use them both together in the same operation. We're going to skip down to number 8. Never saw freehand. What that means is, you're trying to cross cut, well, I'm trying to push it through without the assistance of the miter gauge. It's dangerous. You can potentially bind, pinch, and kick your board. Also, you're not going to cut straight. Okay? Same with ripping. Use the fence to guide your rip. You never stand here and try to cut without the assistance of the fence. Okay? Again, for pinching and kicking, also, you're not going to cut straight. Okay? When using the fence, the material should be securely against the fence. Using the miter gauge, the material should be securely against the miter gauge. Let's go back to number 7. Saw blade should extend above the workpiece until the gullets of the blade clear the material. Here's the gullets of the blade, basically the bottom of the teeth. So they should clear the material. So that's a little high. Not a big deal, so I'm just going to lower it. And there we go, we are safe. That's a safe height for your blade. Never reach over the saw blade. Even with the guard down, try to not get in the habit of reaching over. Number 10, use extra care and precaution when sawing large material when using a data molded cutter head. So for the most part, we would use a panel saw underneath the cafeteria. If we had to saw large material like that plywood, we would use this machine and we would use probably 4 hands, 4 sets of people to help us cut that. Number 11, use a push stick when narrow hands pass close to the blade. My general rule of thumb is anything less than 6 inches. The 6 inches pertains to what you're ripping to. In the case of this, I will not need to use a push stick. In fact, for demonstration purposes, I'm going to go to 5 3/4. There we go. Now I need to use a push stick. Okay? Push stick is needed for anything less than 6 inches of your cut. Okay? These are here for a reason. This is missing chunks. This could be your fingers or somebody else's fingers. Okay? Use a push stick when hands get too close to the blade. So again, less than 6 inches, use a blade. Use a push stick. My favorite one, number 12. Do not stand directly in line with the cut. Again, it kicks back this way towards you, the operator. So if you're cutting and it kicks back, depending on your height, you're going to get hit in a certain spot. Yes, I know somebody that happened to them. They had a kickback, it hit him there, and he went to the hospital. He was peeing blood for about 4 days. Yes, I couldn't imagine that pain. Do not stand in line with the cut. So if you're waiting to use the machine, do not stand back here. Stand over here by the radial arm saw. That's a safe place because if it kicks, it's not going to get you. Or you can stand over on this side of the fence. Again, it's not going to get you. There is marks in the door from kickback. There is some marks and dents in the door from the old table saw kicking back. Okay, so never stand behind it, whether you're using it or waiting. Okay, and then a couple more things over on the back. Let's see, talk about never stand behind. Hey, I have a safety order. Always keep the blade sharp for better cutting and control. What is more dangerous? A sharp kitchen knife or a dull kitchen knife?
Dull.
A dull one, yes. Same with a blade. With a dull knife, you're putting more force and more pressure, right? Chance for that knife to slip. Same for your saw blades. Saw blades should always be kept because they'll cut so much easier. Okay, you want the machine to cut so much easier. You should never ever have to overexert force to cut material. If you do, then I'll plan to change the blade. Rotation of the blade, we'll talk about that towards you, the operator. Guard will always be in use. Keep your hands away from the moving blade. Never try to move dust, chips, or scraps while the blade is moving. Should you need to remove a piece or scrap, use a push stick. Move it away from the blade. Do not use your fingers. Let's see. Talk about never sawing freehand. Always use the miter gauge when cross-cutting, the fence when ripping. Turn the saw off when you're finished. Again, do not turn the main motherboard switch off. Just hit the paddle switch. Hit the big red paddle switch. And 16, big one. Never distract the operator of the saw. Allow them to focus and concentrate on using the machine to reduce the risk of injury. So I'm not going to talk to one of my wrestlers in class about their wrestling match from last night while they're trying to use the saw. Okay, let them use the saw, and then we'll talk after using the machine. Okay, so again, you may have to just move your mask down a little below your nose because, as you saw, my glasses were fogging up. You can't have your glasses fogging up. Okay, so push stick. What you're going to do is you're going to give me a thumbs up. That's the left hand. The thumbs up keeps your board on the table and against the fence. Now you're going to see, I'm going to start with my hand first while ripping this long material. I'm going to use my hand first. I don't want to start off with a push stick. Because look what happens. The edge of the saw becomes a fulcrum. I'm going to start with my hand first and be pushing it. Then I'm going to switch to the push stick. All right? So, guard down. Thumbs up. Again, I'm using my hand at first. Once the edge of the board reaches the edge of the saw, then I switch to the push stick. Notice I still have my hand on here. If I was to take my hand off, what would happen? It would kick. I'm going to switch the push stick and my push stick towards the fence. Push all the way through the cut. Should I remove the strap? No. Other ways I can do it. I turn the machine off. I can use the push stick, or if the scrap's long enough, come behind the saw and just grab my scrap. Okay. Scrap material, scrap oak, put it in the barrels when they're empty. If you guys have any questions about the safe and proper use of the table saw? All right.